Jefferson Robbins with NCW Life. There are 3 seats open for competition on the Wenatchee School Board this year. I'm joined by one challenger for one of those seats, Randy Smith, running in District 2. Randy, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. Thank you for having me.
We should mention that people in the community may know you for 2 things. You were very active for many years in refereeing youth sports, and your best known involvement with the community might be as the operator of what's now the Wenatchee Heights, the Wenatchee Valley Cross, the lighted 100-foot cross that's visible in the Wenatchee Valley.
Yes, that'll be in 2024. That'll be 30 years old now. Started with one that was only 30 feet tall, and then it graduated to 42 feet. Went to Rooster Combe, blew over in the windstorm, and we put a new one up. And then the landowner, after a year or so, asked us to move it. So we said, okay. We got a hold of the property owner on Wenatchee Heights, and he said, put her here. So we put it there, ran power to it, and so it's on every night now. So people go on to the website, WenatcheeValleyCross.com, and they sponsor nights for their loved ones, memorials, birthdays, anniversaries, different things like that. And it's really well. We take the money that we make, because we really have very few expenses with it, and we donate that back to the community in the way of buying groceries for people during Christmas and Thanksgiving.
And you see that cross as a ministry?
Oh, absolutely. I have a file folder that is that thick, a 3-ring binder that thick, of thank you cards and notes and letters and stuff like that I get from that. And there's not hardly a day goes by when somebody doesn't mention it. Said, "Oh, I saw that last night. It looked so good. There was a backdrop of clouds behind it, and all it was just hanging up in the air by itself." That's cool. It makes me feel good.
Have your children and grandchildren all gone through Wenatchee schools?
No, not at all. No.
What did they do for their education?
They're all homeschooled. My daughter is a certified teacher, and so she actually didn't graduate Wenatchee High School either. She went through a junior year, and then she asked if she could just take her GED, because she didn't like going to school. It just was an ugly place to be. And this was back in '82, and so yeah, we said fine. And then so she took her GED, passed it, and we sent her up to Canada for college. And of course, my son did graduate Wenatchee High School, and then he just got his 20 years in as a jailer at the regional jail here, and now he's welding. He got out of that, and he said, "Do you think I could make a living welding?" And I said, "Oh yeah, no problem." So now he's got more work than he can handle. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, all the kids are up there. My daughter-in-law teaches at one of the co-op schools, and she has to go into training to do that. So she teaches one of the classes in the school. And of course, my daughter is a certified teacher, so she does the homeschooling curriculum. And it's not that they want to homeschool. It's the fact that they don't want to send their kids to the public schools. And so that's where a lot of the families are right now. It's kind of scary.
You haven't run for office before, although, as I've said, you're known in the community. So what qualifies you to serve on the Wenatchee School Board?
Well, probably what qualifies me the most is the fact that I'm willing to run. The fact of my qualifications in academia, what I've learned, what I know, that not so much, other than just the life learning. Just going through life and knowing how to treat people and learning how to learn is part of it. I went through basic math in high school, and that's all I took. Yet I'm still able to do geometric functions because of needing to. So I go in and I do the research and figure out how to make that angle on that inclined slope just right. And so if you learn how to learn, your learning will never stop. But if you don't learn how to learn, if you're just putting stuff in here and trying to hope to retain it, you're not going to be as successful.
Is your concern that students right now are not learning how to learn in Wenatchee schools?
Definitely. Some of them are, but I think the majority of them are not. They're learning what they need to learn in some situations, but even the graduation rate is not a good show of what's going on. I believe, and not being in depth into the schools, I believe a lot of them are just being pushed through. So it's sad.
Have you seen mistakes that the board has made that you feel like you would have made a different decision about?
I haven't been that involved in actually watching them until just lately when I decided to go after this. And so in the research and talking to other people, some of the stuff that has come up was the budgeting, the $8 million that they're having to make up now and more. because they just didn't, number one, listen to some people that were saying, hey, you're going to have a problem. No, we got it covered. We got it covered. No, you're going to have a problem. And they went ahead with it anyway. So that was one thing, is not listening to people give you help and advice, just pushing them away. Yeah, there are some other stuff about the schools and whatnot, and I think we probably might get into that later. But as far as the school board itself, they're just leaning away from family values, from what I can tell, more than anything else. They just, and the family's struggling right now. You know, a lot of families are struggling, and when you have to, pay more money to send your kid to a private school because you don't like the school system, and it puts more of a monetary burden on you for that, it just snowballs.
If you were elected, how would you see your role on the board? Are there particular tasks or committees that you want to take on, or initiatives that you want to present to the board?
Well, having talked to lots of people, it's amazing how many people have something to say. Then they all have, a lot of them have really good advice, but there are some things that I would like to see instituted right away. Number one, a dress code policy. The dress code policy right now at the school district is 0. There is no dress code policy. So a gal can wear whatever she wants to wear to school. Now you put a gal, a good-looking gal, in skimpy clothes in a classroom with guys aren't going to learn nothing. They're not going to be focused on their learning. And to me, that's an extreme distraction in the school teaching process. So that would be one of the first things I would want to do, is the dress code for the school. And I don't mean, dresses down to your ankles or, this kind of thing. Let's keep it modest. Let's focus on going to school to learn, not necessarily to show off. There are school functions that you do that for, the dances and the get-together, stuff like that. But school needs to be for learning.
I'm not sure that there's not a dress code in Wenatchee schools, because the district is often revising them in relation to things they see forthcoming. When gang incidents became an issue in Eastmont schools, for instance, both they and the Wenatchee School District amended their dress code to deal with certain kinds of clothing that were seen as being gang insignia.
That's correct. And that's all there is. Just the gang dress code. So there is no modesty dress code at all. Okay, and I have heard that from several teachers. There's a situation where a teacher was asking a gal to cover up because she was just exposed, and the teacher ended up having to write a letter of apology to the student for emotional distress, and it's just a little too far over for me.
How would a modesty dress code be applied to male students?
Number one, wear a belt. Okay, keep your pants up where they belong, and I don't want to see your underwear or your butt crack. That's just all there is to it. But yeah, I mean, I suppose the tightness could have something to do with it, but the male students would just, anything that distracts another student from learning is wrong. It shouldn't be allowed. Never should you be allowed to get in the way of another student's learning in anything you do, whether it's dress code or by bullying or anything else you do. It should not be allowed. School is a place to learn.
Now, the district has adopted a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion for staff and students, and this is following along with state policies and recommendations. You've stated you don't agree with that objective, and why is that?
Well, inclusion, I like to include everybody. I don't have a problem with inclusion. Diversity, that's wide open. Being diverse and doing several different things. Equity, the way they put it together, it's okay, but when it gets into the transgender stuff, I tend to have a little more of a problem with it. I don't have a problem with everybody being equal, whether you're Hispanic or Indian or Asian or Hungarian. The equity there or inclusion in those is great. I think that's fine. But when it comes down to, are you going to ask a question about the transgender issues of girls and boys?
I'd like to hear what you have to say. Go ahead.
Well, until a few years ago, if you thought you were a girl, that was a mental disorder. that was definitely a mental disorder, and you needed to seek help. And now it's just become the norm and almost pushed on kids. And to me, to have anybody in control over my son or daughter's gender in school is totally wrong.
In what sense would the schools have control over a student's gender?
Oh, they ask whether or not you want to be called Jamie or Jimmy. Or you know, if a girl comes or a boy comes in, I think it happens more that direction, and is feeling a little bit on the feminine side, then they say, oh, are you feeling like a girl today? Do you feel like you need to be a girl? Now, I've experienced it. I'm just going by hearsay more than anything else, but this is something that I believe that the parents are being totally left out of. And actually, according to the state legislator, you can't tell them. When a kid gets to a certain age and they want puberty blockers, the parents are not informed. And it's bothersome. So I don't, I'd like to see help. I like to see psychological help for the kids as soon as they need it, and for whatever avenues they're going down, whether it be just feeling worthless, you know, with what they are. Now, I have heard from people who say that, well, the kids go home and their parents are not in agreeing with what they want to do, and then they abuse them or they mistreat them in some way. And no, that's totally wrong. Totally wrong. The kid needs to be supported and helped. Now, I'm not going to tell you what that help has to be. I'm just saying that we have to work out a way to do that.
I think in large part what you're referring to is state policies which come down from OSPI concerning transgender and gender nonconforming students. Washington state law says they cannot be discriminated against in schools. School districts, to the extent that they're not legally required to use a student's legal name and gender on school records or documents, the district should use the name and gender by which the student identifies. I think that's what you're referring to.
Pretty much, yeah. My biggest issue is basically in sports. You know, if you put a male athlete against a female athlete in the same sport, especially a contact sport, the female athlete is going to get hurt. And I don't want to go to that parent of that female athlete and tell her, yeah, well, I okayed that guy could play on her team, and that's why she has a concussion, because she was hit so hard with the volleyball. So I don't personally, I don't believe in it. Period. At any age or any level, I don't think that if you're got the XY chromosomes, you're a guy and you compete as one.
To my knowledge, it's not been an issue in Wenatchee schools, a transgender athlete wanting to compete.
Not that I know of.
Your thought is that the day may come.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I would bet on it.
You mentioned other problems that you've seen in the schools, or that you foresee affecting the schools. Budget and enrollment decline is one thing.
Right.
Are you concerned that the enrollment decline is going to imperil the schools in the future? Do you see a way of turning it around?
Yes, I do see it continuing to drop, because more and more people are just not wanting to put their kids there. We have a local church in town who's starting a K through 12 school next year.
Grace City Church.
Grace City Church, yes. And so why? Well, anytime you get something like that, it's because of demand. And the demand is there.
Your thought is that the parents are choicing out, and you think that they're doing so in reaction to these policies?
Oh, absolutely. No doubt in my mind. You look at Cascade Christian Academy, Pinnacle School, River Academy, all the co-ops, all the homeschoolings and whatnot. There's a ton of them out there. There really is a ton of them. So they have to do something. They want their kids to get educated. And if the school's not going to protect their kids and let them learn, then it's not going to work well. And as far as the budgetary numbers, yeah, that would be one of my goals, is try to get these parents to bring their kids back to school if the school was a learning environment for the kids. And $16,000+ per school, that's pretty good money for the school.
Do you feel, Randy, that the board should have acted earlier to look into the residency of one of its members, Catherine Thomas? There were questions about whether she still lived in the Wenatchee School District as far back as spring of this year, but only recently, late last month, did the board take visible action on asking questions about her residency. Should they have moved faster?
Oh, I know Catherine, and I don't know about move faster or not. They said their reasoning for moving at all was the emails they've got. They didn't say how many emails that they received to push this along. My question was, well, if she's maintaining a residency here in town, paying for a place, I don't know if she's not living here all the time, but she does come back, I know that. But what really astounded me was the amount of time and effort and energy they put into trying to get her off the board when she only has 3 meetings left. And is her input at those meetings that useless, or is it, you know, that abrasive to where they don't like it? They want to just get rid of her as soon as they can right away. I mean, she's on the minority of the board, so they couldn't pass anything anyway. Her and Julie Norton are up against the 3 others, and it's you know, a losing battle all for the whole time they were there. And it would be incredibly frustrating to be in that role. But if she's doing her job, I don't see the really big issue with. Now, if she was rerunning for office now, then I would probably say I think she better not either move back or drop out. But with three meetings to go, that seems like ridiculous to fight all that way. It's been 45 minutes, the last board meeting, talking about that and threatening to be sued.
Ideally, I think you would see, if your candidacy was approved by the voters, if you were elected, you think the ideal slate would be yourself, Tricia Cleek, and Julie Norton. You feel like the 3 of you would be able to change or reverse some of the policies that you're concerned about now?
Oh, I would hope so. I absolutely hope so, because there are some terrible policies, and or lack of policies in some such situations. So I know Tricia Cleek very well. She's an extremely good friend. I grew up with her and her sons. I actually had a couple of her sons live with me for a while, and training them how to work, and they know how to work. So, but yeah, Tricia, I don't know Julie all that well, but from what I understand, she's pretty good to work with.
In your candidate statement that you provided for the voters pamphlet, one statement that you made was, "I personally believe in only one race, and that is the human race." How does that statement apply in what you see happening in the schools?
Well, there's your equity. Everybody's equal. I mean, the race baiting going on nowadays, as far as black and white and Hispanic and all these others, no, those are ethnicities. Those are not races. We're the human race. We're all humans, and we need to get along. So the sooner that we can get away from calling a black man, what they call him, or a Hispanic or Asian or anything like that, that's just the way it is. I don't like the race stuff. I can't think of anybody that I know of that's a different ethnicity than I am that I don't like or opposed to that ethnicity. Just as far as I'm concerned, they all have their values. They all bring positive to the table when you let them.
In terms of student body, the Wenatchee School District is a majority-minority district.
Absolutely.
And that most students are Hispanic.
54%.
Exactly so. So a majority. Do you feel like the district, the board, needs to keep that in mind and work on policies that help the Hispanic student population to succeed at the same level as their white counterparts?
I think everybody ought to succeed at the same level as the white counterparts. And what to do to make that happen, that's a tough challenge. I was talking to my wife about this morning. I'm struggling with my dad and his hearing dementia. He has a terrible jumbling up of what he hears. He worked in the noisy industry for so many years that now all he hears is garble. And they have stuff like your microphone here that you talk into, and it pops up on his phone, everything you say. And you have one, I have one, all the kids in the family around the table have one and it comes typed up in a different color. Oh, that'd be cool. Why can't we do that for the Hispanic students that can't understand English very well? Put something like this on a teacher. Have the Hispanic student have a set of headphones on that translates the teacher's speech into Spanish so they can be learning the same method, the same time as the everybody else. And I mean, this could go further than that. I mean, it could go to, if they spoke Hungary or Russian, Ukrainian, whatever, it could be tuned up to that. Technology is so great right now. The opportunity is there. We just need to try to figure out how to get it in and get it going. And that would be one of the best ways I can think of to bring everybody up to the same playing field so that everybody could understand what is being spoken. The other is, I think, mentorship between students. You get a good buddy student or girlfriend student that can help you work through your problems and help you to understand what's going on. Teachers are overloaded and they got a lot of work to do. And I hate to put more on them. Some of the teachers do a phenomenal job and I really applaud them. But there's only so much they can do. So they need help.
Randy, what is the duty that a school board owes to its students?
First and foremost, safety, protection. A kid has to feel safe at school. If they don't feel safe at school, they won't want to be there and they won't learn anything. So to me, one of the most important things is safety. And when you have, very little discipline action going on in the school, somebody tells the teacher off and they get sent to the principal and counselor talks to them for a few minutes and sends them back again. To me, that's very inadequate. I'd like to take the kid out of the school, put him in the principal's office, have the parent come pick up the child, take him home. And then after they've done that 3 or 4 times through the school year, I think the child is going to get the impression from the parents, I'm tired of doing this, behave yourself. Things like that. There's just, when you have to have an administrator walk through the school, checking out the bathrooms between every passing period to make sure there's nothing left in the bathroom that's inappropriate. That's not right. Students are asking to go away from the school to a neighbor's house to go to the bathroom because they don't feel safe. That's one of the biggest things is the safety. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have all the answers to that for sure, but there's got to be some stuff done to improve that.
Randy Smith, candidate for District 2 in the Wenatchee School Board. I want to thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
You're watching the NCW Life channel.